Well, welcome to the pre-show, which is a nothing part of the show. It's just a little airtime prior to going live on the radio station. So it's Friday of a holiday weekend. So I am going to assume that many of you are already out doing something, camping, things like that. We'll see how things go tonight. So for the moment, we're just going to wait out the time. Let's see. We have right now, boom, going live. And I am going to take down the sound. I really should plug in my headset. So, Iowa, good to see you. Nothing, man. What do you mean? You're not seeing anything? Not hearing anything? What's going on? Or did you get here before the live stream started? So, I don't know. Iowa X, can you hear me? Can you see me? How many fingers am I holding up? Nothing, man, he says. Nothing. I don't know what that was about. There he is. Iowa X. 5x5 good. 11. Hey, Roger Rabbit. Hey, guys, I'm going to plug in my headset. I got to stand up and do that because I got to reach. Then I got to flip things around here to get at it. Boom. All right. There we go. Good evening. Who said that? Who was very famously would say that at the beginning of all of his television shows? Good evening. I don't do a good Hitchcock, but that's who that was. Alfred Hitchcock Presents. If you remember that show, you're old like me. Good evening, he would say. All right. We're going to do a slideshow tonight. Not really a formal slideshow. It's not like watching slides and it's organized or anything. It's not organized. I've just got a couple of places where I'm going to go share my screen and we're going to throw up some slides. So we'll see how that works. I can do it differently, but then I got to organize it. I got to sit down and pull all the pictures I want to show. I just want to randomly go through pictures. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. We got a minute left before we go live on the radio station. I got this today in my, what do you call it? It's those packages you get once a month. Mine's the adventure stuff and all that. I can't think of bespoke. This is one of the things that came today. I have now a quick dry towel by Ren. It's 24 by 46 inches. Might even go around my waist. So that came with a couple of other things. Big bag that's also a cooler bag. Hey, Dark Truth. Good to see you. We're in the pre-show for about 10 more seconds. I got to go dark. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the program. Happy Friday evening. Happy 4th of July weekend Friday evening. It's a Friday of a holiday weekend, so I'm anticipating that we'll probably have fewer viewers over on the YouTube channel, maybe some listeners over on the radio station, because everybody's camping or going to do something or fishing or vacationing, whatever it might be. So welcome everybody to the program tonight. I'm your host, of course, Scotty Roberts, and this is my show, the Intrepid Radio program. And aptly so, we are broadcasting on the radio station, Odyssey Radio. You can go over to odysy.radio.com and listen to the audio version of this broadcast and see all the other goodness that's Odyssey Radio. You can also come over and watch this program in its video simulcast over in two places. One is over on Facebook, facebook.com/Odyssey Radio, and also over on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. When you're there, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and also hit the little join button. You can join this channel, and it'll show you a couple of different ways you can do that. So I want to say welcome to everybody that's starting to gather over in the chat room, and we might have some lean attendance tonight, but that's okay. I understand. It's a gorgeous Friday night here where I am. My wife and kids have been gone all day up at her grandma's, and so swimming up there and stuff like that. So her mom's, I'm sorry, they're the kids' grandmas. Drinking beer on the deck is my vacation. Watching the sunset, says Iowa X. There you go, brother. That's got to be nice. I was talking to Race Hobbs this afternoon, formerly of KGRA Radio, and now with The X. I wish I had his voice. He's like a soft, lovable, huggable Darth Vader voice. The X, he says. And I should get him to do some voiceovers for my show. But we were talking, and we were talking some business about some things. And then we just talk. And I was sitting outside, and I said, if we lived closer, this conversation wouldn't be on the phone. We'd be sitting on the back deck drinking beer, because it's Friday of a holiday weekend, just like Iowa X over in the chat room. June Shasta is painting her toenails. Hey, June, I'm barefoot right now. I'm not wearing any shoes or socks. Giggity. But I could use my toenails painted. Sometimes my kids like to do that for me. My 7-year-old and my 10-year-old. The 10-year-old has become a little more line proficient, being able to stay within the lines. The 7-year-old is still kind of, let me just swathe those toes and those fingers with a and it turns out about that way too. Yeah, Iowa X, you got yours. Red, white, and blue. All right. Anybody boycotting the 4th of July this weekend? You can start with this show because, the first thing I like to do when we're at the 4th of July, even though it's on Monday, and I'll more than likely be doing a show on Monday, it's a tradition of mine for the last 20 years of doing radio that on 4th of July weekend, 4th of July, the day of, whichever falls first, I like to read the text of the Declaration of Independence. Because even though it was actually finished and spread around and signed a few months later, this is the date, July 4th, that it was given. And so I've got up here the text before we get into the slideshow. And by the way, all those of you listening on radio, it's a slideshow tonight. So if you want to see the slides, you can come on over to the YouTube or the Facebook channel and watch. And if you're just listening, it'll still be interesting because I'm going to narrate some things. And I'll make sure that if you can't see it, you can at least understand what we're looking at. So here we go. Before we get started, the Declaration of Independence. And I think this is important, especially if you're a citizen of this country, to hear this at least once a year. As I think there are many people out there and a lot of politicking and caterwauling and junk going on in our country right now where people don't even know what the Declaration of Independence is, I would guarantee you, because most of them don't even know what the Constitution is. So let's start this. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. Here we go, folks. Gear up because this is powerful. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that the governments long established should not be charged or changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffering of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such disillusions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by referring or refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, dissolution, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens to taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We've reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We've appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we've conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice, of consanguinity, We must therefore acquiesce to the necessary, which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies of war, in peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And it was signed by several men. Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, George Walton were from Georgia. North Carolina, William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, John Penn. South Carolina, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., Arthur Middleton. Massachusetts, John Hancock. Maryland, Samuel Chase, William Paca, Thomas Stone, Charles Carroll of Carrollton. Virginia, George Wythe, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, Carter Braxton. Pennsylvania, Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, John Morton, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Winston, George Ross. Delaware, Caesar Rodney, George Reed, Thomas McKean. New York, William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, and Lewis Morris. New Jersey, Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, Abraham Clark. New Hampshire, Josiah Bartlett, William Whipple. Massachusetts, Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Treat Payne, Eldridge Gerry. Rhode Island, Stephen Hopkins, William Ellery. Connecticut, Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, Oliver Wolcott, and New Hampshire, Matthew Thornton. So there you go, folks. That is the Declaration of Independence that we are celebrating this weekend. If you choose to boycott that, you're free to do that. You have the liberty to do that. But I would say you are wholly misguided. So there it is, folks. Now, let's get on with our show tonight. On Monday, we're going to talk about the Constitution a little bit. So even though it's a holiday, I'll be here. And if you're around in the evening after the holiday and you got to go to work the next day, you can tune us in on Monday, the 4th of July. So everybody out here that's listening, everybody in the chat room, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And let's move on. As I've said, tonight's going to be a slideshow. We're going to show pictures from Egypt, mostly because it's by your request. It's something that you wanted to do, you wanted to see. And so let's do it. I've not organized these in any way, shape, or form. All I've done is call up my photo albums, both on Facebook, which are public, and also my private collection. You can see flashes of family and stuff go by as we're digging through for the different trips to Egypt. But this will hopefully give you a nice visual, and I'll share my screen when we do that. But before I do that, I want to share one little video. Now, if you're prone to motion sickness, This video moves around a lot because as I filmed it, I was riding in a car with an Egyptian driver. And I'm going to take you via video for a few minutes from Memphis in the south, at the very tip of the delta, the Nile Delta in Egypt, where the northern capital was in ancient times. Memphis is also where I believe, when you read my book, The Exodus Reality, I believe that's where the Exodus took place from. Memphis, and just a little bit north and east of that is Goshen, the Bible calls it, or Avaris, is the city that's been buried there for thousands of years. Yeah, it's kind of like the Blair Witch, Sarah Yusuf, exactly. Grab your popcorn and take your seat, says Barbie D. Now, I'm going to share this video with you, and hopefully your stomach will be intact when we're done. This is driving from Memphis to Cairo. Here we go. Well, here we are in Memphis. Hopefully you can, there is our driver, Handsome Dave. And Dr. John is in the back seat.
I'm here, alive.
And we've just come through the heart of town. So my theory, part of the town is between the windows. There's the canal. That's the canal out there. Men on bicycles. We're out of the thick of it. And if you're on the radio, you're not going to.
خلينا نشوف. ورينا.
Oh, my own?
Yes.
Well, I need to do that. Oh, it's still filming. How about that? Well, hey, there's Handsome Dave again. Here am I, your filmer, your videographer, Dr. John.
Off.
There we go. Large truck. Overtake this truck, Handsome Dave. Or not. Some of the glorious sights in modern day Memphis.
And this is all got to do with Scotty Roberts' completely flawed theory of Memphis.
Completely flawed, you say?
Flawed.
Could you say that into the lens?
Flawed.
And there we have it from Dr. John. Flawed. We shall see, won't we?
So it was written, so it shall be done.
Well, here's the video. Now, those of you just a little drive through Cairo. Now we're entering Cairo. And those of you listening on the radio, looking at the heavy traffic, about 5 lanes of traffic, no camping. Where it goes ahead of the day, he's gunning it, right the needle. There you go. Handsome Dave knows his moves. There it is again. And Dave has done it at about 8 miles an hour. Third world driving calls for whiskey, says Iowa Avenue. Not the car of choice. Walk the rest. Honk the horn, all. The whole thing is right. We get closer. All the time. Out like 2 seconds later. fun to create your own lane. I think it's an open stretch like this. You can't really cruise. Speed bump. Whoa, hey. Whoa, hey. There it is. So there you go. That's the old Intrepid Radio. That's the same website, intrepidradio.com, but we used to be Sundays at 9 p.m. till 1, John Ward and me. All right, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to remove that from the studio. There we go. So there you go, folks. There was Cairo, a little drive in Cairo. Now I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to look at some pictures, and I'm going to describe those pictures the best I can. Now, you're going to see, of course, my computer, as you've always seen before, and share, and boom, boom, boom. I'm going to go over here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run over here to my photo albums, and oops, there's a little something there from about 17 years ago. Didn't mean to show you that. Anybody offended by a boob? Other old pictures. I told you these are family albums in here too. Here, I will show you this picture. Here is Maria Nilsson. These are my friends John Ward and Maria Nilsson, are archaeologists at Gebel El Silsila, Egypt. It's down about 100 or so miles south of Luxor on the Nile in the Komombo district. And you can see how high up she is on this wall. That's not, there's no safety lines out here. These are the old quarries, and you can see all the quarrying. If you see my mouse all the way back here, all the old quarrying, and it's all through this whole area. And you see all these piles out here. Let's see if I can bring that up in size a little. There's Maria. She is actually the head of the mission there. You can see their tent down there that they used as the dig house. But you see all these. You see the stone walls. There was ramps that were built here. But you see all these piles back here of all this rubble. That's what's known as spoil heaps. When they would quarry, they would take baskets full of all the stuff they're chipping away, walk them over and dump them over the hill. All these little hills you see back here are all the quarry spoil. Now, I can't see the chat room here, so if anybody's asking, I'll check back periodically. But here's a couple of other pictures. By the way, this is the boat. This is the Dahabea. You hear me talk about that. There's 10 cabins below deck, and there's the big deck on top that they would drape the canvases and put canvas covers over, and it was all open air. This is where the desks were and all the books and all the artifacts were brought, and we'd sleep on that boat. And that's the same boat we took on the Exodus Reality Adventure back in 2014 when we took people with us. But their site spans both sides of the Nile. You can see all the spoil heaps over here. Look how tall and high those are. We're over here on the west bank looking back, and this was the dig house. This is where we stayed. And here we can go through some of these. There's Maria climbing up to the top of one of the walls, and it gives you an idea. And you can see all the inscriptions that were on the walls. They started before they were allowed to dig by the Ministry of Antiquities. They started logging all of these hieroglyphs that are all over the walls, and they're all at different levels because you can see. As they would strip away stone, they'd go further and further down. So let me advance this a little bit. Looks like a tower there, but you can see the strata of digging away and taking out the sandstone. And that was all a big hillside at one point, but there you see some of the quarries. There's John and Maria. I think this is Engagement Rock, and it's where he proposed to her, and it's sitting out way up on top of that somewhere. There's Maria scaling the walls. There you see some of the, I believe that's the quarry of Ramses over in the background. And then these are just some of the artifacts that they pulled up out of there. So let me advance us to some other things here. Let's go here. Oh, that's sideways. We'll turn that one for you. There's John Ward. This is a narrow passageway that's left with these quarried walls extending upward to the tune of about what might be about 12 stories on a building. And this is what was left. This is how they dragged the stone from the quarry down to the river. And chisel marks, but there's also an inscription there. You can see. And more inscriptions. I'm just going to rifle through these. There's Maria scaling the walls to go take a look at some inscriptions. There she is again, taking some pictures. Now, Maria is I think I already said it, but she is the head of their archaeological mission there. Swedish. She is partially funded by Lund University in Sweden for this, and she is the archaeological mission director. This is the Speos of Horemheb. A speos is a temple or a building that's carved out of stone. And this was a temple. This is the doorway right to the middle center there. I'm looking down to one of the sides. And you can see very faintly, I'm going to show you this. Look at this. There's a cross here that was once plastered on top of the hieroglyphics. That was done in ancient times by the Coptic Christians. And they're all over these walls. Just some of the inscriptions here. You can see the sandstone here. More inscriptions. This is all in the Speos of Horemheb. Some of these are modern. Some of these inscriptions, W. Hamilton. There's a date on here, and I can't make this one out, but some of these date back to the Napoleonic Wars. There's John up on top. Bats. That's all bats, by the way. That's not rock. That's all bats hanging from inside one of these structures. There you go. All right. Here's John. Now, let's get out of here because I want to advance to some other places. Let me go check the chat room. Give me a moment here. Let's go over to the chat room. Oh, you know what? I can look at the chat room while I'm here because it's a different program. There you go. I couldn't do that. I'm severely acrophobic. Is that heights? I rarely hookah, says June Shasta. Will you marry me and climb the Sphinx with me? Sure thing. And that's what they did. They met because John was leading tours, and she actually came over and was taking a tour with him. She wanted to work toward archaeology there. And so I'm going to diminish this window a bit so I can see the chat room. There you can see what I'm seeing there. Okay, let's move along. Now we're going to get to some different places here. This is the Ramessid shrine on the west bank at Gebel El Silsil. It's very picturesque. You can see it there. I would stand only about this tall right up here. So it's quite a structure. I've got some other pictures of that we'll look at. There's the west bank again with the Ramessid structure. Meaning the time of Ramses. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, this is the hotel when we first got there with the trip we took. There's Maria. There's my daughters at the time. This was 2014. There's Chris Conway. I've mentioned him, Scottish medium and psychic. He was on the British show Most Haunted for a couple of years. He came along, a friend of ours, to bring kind of a metaphysical aspect to some of the sites where we were. Now, this is Cairo, and we're pulling into the hotel here, and you can see the pyramids from the hotel. Let me move my mouse out of the way. Cairo, there we're all looking over at the pyramids. 21st. Now I was broadcasting live radio back to the States with Chris Conway there. Black pictures. Okay, now this is a little different. You're going to see offshoots here that I'm going to show you. Meaning I was a photography minor in college, and we were taught by our professor, who was a former Nixon staff photographer, Jim Cunningham. And he said, for every 1,000 pictures you take, you will get that one good one. So I don't know if this is one of my photos or somebody else's, but I would take 1,000 pictures to get the one good one that you might see. That's John. That's my daughter bending down looking. I'm going to advance through these. This is the top of Serabit el-Khadim in the Sinai. This is the mountain that Flinders Petrie believed to be the actual mountain of God from the book of Exodus. He said, this is the Mount Sinai of the Bible, and not the traditional Mount Sinai over on the other side of the Sinai Peninsula. And this was filled with the ruins of, for 1,600 years, successive pharaohs built chambers and shrines on this site, extending from way in the background. There's 2 little caves in the hill, and they dedicated those as temples to Ptah and temples to Hathor. And all these shrines are there. This is the shrine of Hatshepsut, the queen that I believe was the woman who found Moses in the Nile. And there I'm standing there in her shrine, just looking at some of the hieroglyphs. There you go. It's my daughter's. There we are on the backside of Serabit el-Khadim. We climbed down the backside, kind of a goat path, getting down, and ended up here in the desert. And our driver picked us up, the Sheikh Salim Barakat. We were guests of his during this time. Sarah has significant feelings of energy. Now, Serabit el-Khadim gets visited very rarely, a little more nowadays, but when the first time I went in 2013, there was a guest book that the Sheikh had a sign, and there were like 12 signatures in it over 6 years. So this is Edfu, the temple at Edfu. That's John's daughter. And there I am. That's our guide, El Tayyib. Tayyib, we called him, and he's on my Facebook page. Keep up with him as much as I can. And we're inside this temple that was all uncovered. And sorry, these are someone else's pictures, so some of them are a little blurry and so on. Hey, mechanics! Swanky. Yeah. This is also the same temple. No, this is at, I don't know where that one was. Okay, I'm going to just rush through some of these. These are all offshoots. And now here is, of course, the Temple of Ramses II at, oh, why is it slipping my mind? Down in past Komombo, down in Aswan. This is Abu Simbel. And this morning, we happened to be there. We got up at 5 in the morning and went down there because the sun, when it was going to rise, it's just about rising here, would shine on the birthday of Ramses II through this opening to the temple, and it would illuminate all the way in the back of the temple the statues of Ramses, his family, and the gods. And it's a very rare occasion. It happens once a year. But this year they happen to have about 10,000 people all gathered on this beach. This was part of the tour where we brought everybody along. There's the sun rising. And again, there's a lot of offshoots here, but I'm just going to scroll through some of these quickly. Dancers were out there. This is Luxor. Now I'm standing here on the avenue of sphinxes. As you can tell in the background behind me, there's a line of sphinxes there, and also way to the far right, a little harder to see, but way over here is the opposite line of sphinxes, and this roadway was the processional way. These pavements are the original roadway that was there 3,500 years ago, and this is the Temple of Luxor and the main entrance. There used to be 2 obelisks here, and one of those was taken away, and I believe it's in Paris right now. And there's 2 statues of Ramses at the front. And you can go inside here. And hey, Uncle Dave Potter, good to see you in the chat room. So Maria Nilsson took this picture. And this avenue of sphinxes and this avenue of paved stone was a processional way. You can imagine the chariots of Pharaoh and the processions of priests and people that would march down this roadway. It extends in a straight line. The River Nile is just off to our right here. It extends in a straight line for 3.5 miles all the way to the doors of Karnak Temple. And it's lined on both sides by all these sphinxes all the way down. And they've uncovered a lot of that now. A little closer up. Same picture, same. All right. Let me get out of this, and let's see where we're heading now. Now we go back down to, here's John and Maria asleep in the van on the way. Bumpy van. Oh, here's some more of Abu Simbel the morning of that celebration. Or did I show these? Oh, I already showed these. Okay. So now we're going down. This was my first time to Gebel El Silsila. And this is the big quarry site that is John and Maria's archaeological site. And it spans both sides of the river. And it's got about 30 shrines along the west bank. And most of the quarries are over on the east bank. And this is when we first got there. And so we're just surveying the place. There's the Nile. The first time I got, well, not the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it at Gebel El Silsila. And just some inscriptions all the way down the shrines. I'm just going to go through those fast. That's the Speas of Horemheb. And the bars are added in the 20th century. And it's just to keep people from looting it, tearing it apart. And all of it was covered with hieroglyphs. Now, they say this was the Speas of Horemheb, who was the general of the armies when King Tutankhamun died. And so he became the next pharaoh. He took over as pharaoh. And all of his inscriptions are on this. But now they've done infrared photography inside and out. And they have found that this was originally the Speas of Hatshepsut, the woman who I've mentioned before, the pharaoh Hatshepsut. That's the Speas facing the river. They built the big stairway there. Our Dahabea is not there right now because that's not where we were staying. This was a personal trip. Okay, I'm going to get out of this. All these are just inscriptions in the interiors of the Speas of Horemheb, which we found to be the Speas of Hatshepsut with infrared photography. It's just amazing. Her inscriptions are underneath what was there. Now, I took this picture for one purpose only, and that was to show what we read the story of Moses and heard about it since we were kids in Sunday school. These are the reeds in the Nile. When it says that he was set adrift on the Nile and that Pharaoh's daughter found him is in a basket amongst the reeds, these are the reeds of the Nile on the shore. All right. Now, these are a lot of the shrines that you will find at Gebel El Silsila. I'll show you just a few of these. We'll scroll through these fast. These are all the shrines of different nobles that put up their shrines on here to commemorate themselves at Gebel El Silsila. It was a very important place. This is Robert Wood, 1851. That graffiti was carved in there. Yeah, we know she was erased. Somebody else usurped, Horemheb usurped the Speos and erased her inscriptions as much as he could and plastered over them and carved his own inscriptions over the top. Much like the Abydos lintel, which we've heard so much about. One of the shrines. Hard to get phone reception in there. So I climbed all through these. I went and I took pictures of all of these. This is the split shrine. There's a split in the rock along the side. You go back alongside. This is, I don't know whose shrine this one is off the top of my head. This is from inside, looking out at the Nile. And of course, John. Wow, it's already 9:51. We'll continue this on into the captain's cabin if anybody wants to come over that's not here now. So we'll just continue on with some of this and show these slides as we go along. And there's John, of course, and you see these miniatures, the thumbnails. This is what we're looking at, this whole row of things. This is Maria, and she's pointing out the cartouche. I believe this was the cartouche of Senenmut. I was in here looking for this. This is the shrine of Senenmut, where I am standing here. Senenmut, this guy, this bust that sits behind me, he had a shrine here. You can see he was erased as well. A lot of there's his cartouche for Senenmut. And so on and so on and so on. Let's see. This is how we get there, by the way. We had to walk along these cliff ledges to make it over there, like this. And the drop isn't great, but it's about 15, 20 feet. And you'll splash into the reeds in the water down below. So this was John taking pictures of me trying to work my way along the ledge. There's Maria Nilsson in the Shrine of Senenmut. This was 2013, guys. Climbing all over the cliff faces. And this is how we had to get back off of the ledge. There's a handhold over here. I believe, was it this? You might see in the next picture. You had to reach around and swing yourself over. So there I am. Now, that doesn't look very far down, if you look at that. But that's not where it stops. It goes down even further. So I'm reaching for the handhold. Put your foot over. You grab. One of the Egyptian workers was trying to help me. I said, no. I got this. Pride. My pride. They say pride goeth before a fall. Well, I didn't fall. So I wasn't overtly prideful. When you pull yourself over, that's Salah. No. That is Shahat. And he had drinks and food for us up top. Some of the shrines right around the corner from that. There's John. You can see it goes down to the Nile from there. Boom, boom, boom. There's Maria again. And, of course, she's done this a million times. That was my first time. She just grabbed John's hand, swung over. John always brought his bone china teacup everywhere we went. And Shahat, his Egyptian servant, I guess you could call him, a hired servant, always had, and he's the foreman of their digs, always had coffee in a thermos and the bone china teacups. John checking the time. So we can get out of this. We've only got a couple of minutes left of the live show. We've only got a minute left of the live show. And we go out. So here, I'll show you this little progression of pictures just for fun. There's some of the inspectors from the Ministry of Antiquity. John's queuing up or whack. And he almost hit them. I just want to show you this. Right there, before we go out over here, look at this. He hit that rock. Look where that rock's coming down. Right there. And he just barely missed one of the inspectors from the Ministry of Antiquities, which are really kind of his bosses. All right, let me get back over here. Folks, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because we're going to get out of here. Show's over in about 15 seconds, so stick around in the captain's cabin. We'll do a little bit more of this. All right? So, live long and prosper to my radio audience.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Okay, folks, we're back for the captain's cabin. And if you want to stick around, we're gonna continue on with this little picture quest tonight, showing you some different things in Egypt. Let me unplug this. Are you asking me, Sarah, if there are ghosts or if we're going to talk about ghosts tonight? Yeah, there's a lot of mysterious stuff that goes on in Egypt. Even in the 4th century BCE, Manetho, the historian, called Egypt the land of the gods, demigods, and spirits of the dead. And yeah, it's there. When I was going through all those shrines one day, yeah, next week we'll hit ghosts again. But when I was going through the shrines one day, they were all working on the site on the east bank of the river. I went through all the shrines. I was taking pictures for a coffee table book for them, book they wanted to compile. And I had full batteries, and I went over to the shrines. I started filming myself, giving a little tutorial on the shrine, and all my batteries died. My camera battery, my phone battery, my secondary camera battery, everything died. And it was broad daylight, but I was speaking about the spirits of the people that were there. And so, yeah, that might have been some ghost stories. But now let's go back and start sharing this again. Yeah, the shadow person photos, those are from not from Egypt. Those were from Winona. Oh, you're talking about the other ones. I can show you those right now if you'd like to see those. Once again, I know we've shown them a couple of times on here. Let me share my screen and share. And we're going to go over to Photoshop again. Oh, that's for a client. Let me get rid of the client work that's up here. That was for a client. That's for a client. That's for a client. Don't save. This, I'm going to save it again just in case. Put that away. All right. Now, let's look up. If I open up those pictures here, let me, by the way, I'm going to close this down just a little bit so I can still see the chat room over here. Where am I? I'm still in Photoshop. So let's go here, to here, to here, to the Saqqara folder. Okay. This is where we're going to start looking at stuff. All right. Now, I can't see your posts here because of where I am in this program. But let's find this guy. So these are camera perspectives. That's what I was showing. Here's the Hebsed court. I got to get there. Here's the photo I'm looking for. All right. That's not a big photo. This isn't the original photo. It's a watered down one. But here, let's, I bring it up to screen size and it can get a little fuzzy. So let me do this now. I'm going to move this over so I can see the chat room. There we are, chat room. Yeah, these are the ones I shared with Dave Schrader, Sarah. And let's fit that on the screen. Now, it's a lower res version of this photo, sorry to say. I don't know where the high res versions are off the top of my head. I can find them a little higher res probably over in my on my Facebook page, but I don't want to go dig for them. So this is the Hebsed court, and I was sitting over here when I had that vision I told you all about. And as I got up, I walked back over here and I was on one of these porches of one of these temples, and I shot a bunch of pictures. I shot a picture this way, I walked out on the roadway, shot a picture that way, shot the other direction. John was here, but John was dressed in his typical olive drab-looking tweed, and this is what I got in this shot, and I didn't notice it for 6 years after I took this photograph. If I blow this up, and it's going to be a little blurry, but you see this figure here emerging from behind the stonework. And let me call up a couple of the other shots here as a closer view I've got here. Let's pull this one up. Now, here's the closer view of this, and it's not much better yet. So I looked at this, and I thought, what am I looking at here? And it wasn't John. There, now you start to see, hey, oh, that's fireworks going off. I thought one of the kids was tapping on my window. So you've got this going on here. Now I open this up again, and let's get the close-up view of this. Here it is. Close-up view, where I tried to lighten this a bit to see what we might be seeing here. And what you've got is somebody that looks like bare-chested. Nobody wears a tank top over there. It's a bare shoulder going down to the bicep and the wrist, all the way down to the wrist, and a hand with thumb and fingers. And then the waist here to the leg fades off. Now, the interesting thing about this as well was actually how high this is off the ground. Let's see if this will show. All right. So it's really difficult to see here, but this wall of blocks right here, wall of blocks, it steps out, the wall of the blocks continues on. Here's your bare ground. This guy would have had to have been, his feet would have had to have been at about this level on the ground. So it gives you an idea of how high off the ground he is. A very tall object, yes. And, of course, here's the original shot again, just a little low resolution. But you can see back there, there's the ground level. And if he'd been further back, he would have been smaller. So that's in the Hebsed court. And so there you go, Sarah. That's the bottom portion of that dude disappears. Exactly. And I had some pictures of what John looked like and how he was dressed here. Let's see. I'm going to share. I am sharing my screen. Let me go back to my photos because I think I might have this in here. John was dressed like this, by the way. That's how he was dressed. This is going through the jumping the chasm there with a little inlet that came there. Back in the reeds again. This is the shrine that was uncovered a couple of years later. Meaning it's uncovered now, but it was buried in silt, and so they finally excavated. That's my boot as I'm going to jump inside there. And there's John looking in. Sarah asks, would that area be involved with the death rituals involving the shadow's self? No, I don't think so. These were temples that were there and shrines that were all along that way. I'm looking in. This has all been excavated now. That's Silsila. You can see the ancient ladder going up the side there, footholds and handholds. A Star of David. Very old on the side of the wall there. This is all at Silsila. This is the Ramesseed I told you about, that big shrine. There it is, up close. Somebody, now I want to show you something. Do you see this right here? This might be slightly blurry. No, it's not too bad. If you go down here, do you see this hole? And then you move over here, and on this plaque with ancient inscriptions, you see these holes. You know what made these holes? Modern day looters being told by an imam in their village that there was gold behind this. Funny thing is, they started boring holes out of these old inscriptions and chiseling away at it. It's bedrock. There's nothing behind this. It's all carved out of solid stone. So here's John. I call it John Hotep. And, of course, the ubiquitous bone china teacup as we're getting on the boat. That's the shrine we were just at there. And sailing down, Maria and John, 3 of us. This is back in 2013. This is almost 10 years old. There's a lot of the shrines with some quarries behind them along the river. John striking a pose. These are some of the shrines. He does that on purpose, June. But yes, he is. I think we're going back to the boat here. Yep. There's John. That's a picture we used in something once. Good picture of him. See the shrines up here. Some of these you can only get to by the water. Now, these are when I was in the Shrine of Senenmut. That's the second one over from the left. This one all the way over here on the corner, it had the wall broken out here. So there's like a door here, and it was broken out in between here to this shrine. This is where I was filming, and all my batteries died at one spot at one time. Yeah, wouldn't it though? In Egypt, you can afford it. So that's the Shrine of Senenmut there. That's where we were crawling along up here on this cliff. And we'd swing around over on the far end here. So that gives you an idea of perspective. And the only way to get to this cliff, you can come here, but you can't get over to Senenmut's shrine here. There's nowhere to walk here, and it doesn't break through. So you have to go up. There's a path up here. You go up all the way up over the top of this and around and drop down over here, and you swing around to the cliff face. Nope. These are, Sarah, nothing lines up here as far as we know. This is just shrines along the Nile at Gebel El Silsila. That's very picturesque. Way back, there's those shrines. Boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to get through those. You need to see 18 pictures of me looking at shrines. Okay. I think this is the Speos of Horemheb again. Yes, it is. And so this is all at Gebel El Silsila, John and Maria's site. And there's not a lot in here that's anything other than what you've already seen. So we're going to advance a little further ahead here. Oh, see, we got family pictures in between. That's after I got home. So there's Maria Nilsson. Probably the hottest archaeologist alive, would be my guess. There's John and Maria. Here's a picture I took of John. That's his Indiana Jones fedora I bought for him back in 2014. So I think that's when this is from, the next year. because it wasn't a cheap knockoff. This is about as real the thing you can get. Penman hats. All right. So moving along here, family pictures, other stuff. I told you this was not in any kind of order here. I'm just going to go through and show you some shots from Egypt. So, family, the baby, Halloween of that year. Now we're back in Egypt. Now, this is great stuff. Now, this is when I arrived, and John and Maria were already working out at their site. And I arrived at their house. I stayed at their house. Here's the front gardens at John and Maria's house in Luxor. That's the gateway. That's one of their house servants, Ahmed. Now, this is at the temple of Hatshepsut. Sarah Yusuf, what attracted me to Egypt in the first place, I think, was my study when I was a kid of Moses and the story of Moses. I remember I was deeply entrenched in church and church work. And as a kid, I was going to church and I was very interested in the story of Moses. And that was actually spurred on, believe it or not, by the Charlton Heston Yul Brynner movie, The Ten Commandments. Got me interested in it. And then I became a faith follower in Christianity. And I was really intrigued by the story. It was when I was 11 years old that I first met Dr. Charles Ailing. And I've told this story before for those of you who've heard it. But this is when I first met Dr. Charles Ailing. And he, I was doing a report for Sunday school, on the Pharaoh of the Exodus. It was how providential that I was given that to write 100 words on the Pharaoh of the Exodus. And so I was 7th grade, 11 years old, and I wrote this little report, and it was Dr. Charles Ailing that first gave me the line of kings that he believed Moses was under. And it's the same. He didn't go into Senenmut and Hatshepsut so much, but Amenhotep II, he believed, was the Pharaoh of the Exodus. And the son of Tutmosis III, who was the son of Tutmosis II, who was the son of Tutmosis I, who was on the front throne when Moses would have been born. And his daughter was Hatshepsut, or Matkare. And so that whole story, the whole book I wrote on that. So there I'm standing on the porch of her temple. I'm up one of the ramps here already. That is Hatshepsut's temple. And that's the Theban Mountains right there. It's not it's not like the Rocky Mountains. This is a ridge. Now, you could ride horseback up along that ridge, maybe, I don't even know how far it is, maybe 300 yards, and it drops down on the other side, and you're in the Valley of the Kings. So to get there, you either have to climb the rock face or you got to drive 10 minutes all the way around the road. And to get there, I'll show you some. This is from the opposite side of that ramp. They say that all of these open areas here were all filled with landscaping and lush trees all through here, and ponds and things like that. And then this is the road that goes all the way out. This is where the coffee shop is. Oh, wait, it was right here. But down here, over this ledge, down in this coulee, is where the tomb of Senenmut is, where I had that other vision. So this is the ruins of, I believe this is Tutmos III is right over in here. And this is some of his ruins. And that's looking over, which direction am I looking? The Nile is out there. So you're actually looking those mountains over there in the eastern desert from the Nile, between the Nile and the Red Sea. Here's a better shot of Hatshepsut's temple. It's been fully restored. That's Tutmos III. They're excavating. So they got the shaft where they're dumping debris down. And they clear it out. So this is just walking around Hatshepsut's temple. This is the Holy of Holies at Hatshepsut's temple. I'm taking this through iron bars here where they have it locked off. You can only get in on special occasions. And this is some of the hieroglyphs that are still there. The paint is still there. That's on the back cover of that I used on the back cover of the Exodus Reality, which is right here. If I show you this, let's see. I got to get over here, and I'm in miniature there. But if I stopped sharing, I can show you this. There's that same picture way in the background. It's a little hard to see there, but it's back there, of the line of soldiers that were marching on the back of this book, The Exodus Reality, that John Ward and I wrote together. All right. Looks like a portal. It certainly does. I'll share my screen again here. And share. And let's go back over to photos. Let's see where we're at here. Whoops. Right there. So let's get out of that. I'm going to scroll down here. Here's Hatshepsut, a statue of her. Some of the red paint is still on the crown here. And there's a couple of these where the red paint is still even on her cheeks. Right here, you see this one, where there's still some of the red paint there. After 3,500 years, red paint on the nose. She's got a nose like mine there. Red paint here. That's not restored, although it was cleaned up. That still exists there. Some of the original paint color. Now here is, just show you some of this. There is, where is it in this picture? Might be this, the workers' cave, where there was the pornographic inscriptions or paintings in black paint from 3,500 years ago that the workers building this temple for Hatshepsut had painted a picture of her being shagged by Senenmut. So now this is Luxor Temple. This was the night I arrived, or the afternoon, Ramses II. This is the main gate, and I just walked over there. My friend Tayyib was over there leading a tour with a handful of people, and he said, come and meet me over. And so I took the ferry boat over from John and Maria's place and ferried over to main town of Luxor and Luxor Temple. And the sun was just getting ready to set. That's the hypostyle hall you see in the background. All the pillars. One of the statues of Ramses at the opening. There's Tayyib. And he's describing this to some of the people that are with him. So I went and met him so we could have a cup of coffee. And this is Luxor Temple. That's a blurry picture, sorry, because I was taking this picture at night with no flash, of course, because the flash wouldn't reach that far anyway. So I'm just going to go through. There's the hypostyle hall at Luxor Temple. That's a blurry one. Now we're back over at Gebel El Silsila. This is down the Nile. And there's a couple of things I can show you in here. This was our day off. Nobody was excavating this day. It's Maria and John and Ahmed again. Different Ahmed. Is this who I think it is? No, that's just some locals. This is the other side on their dig site. You can see all the spoil heaps here that built up over the centuries from quarrying all the stone out of this quarry back here. Let's see what we got here. This, I was just trying to do a handheld shot of the moon over the Nile because it was a crescent moon with a star above it, which seemed very Islamic to me. So I tried several different settings, and it was handheld. I didn't have a tripod with me. We're out on the boat. And this is kind of the middle of the night was when I took these. I'm going to scroll through these fast and see. I don't think I ever got a good shot of that. Okay. That's the stigma of doing a slideshow. There you go. Now you can't see it in this picture, but way off to the left, and start describing what's there. Now this is all Gebel El Silsila. This is the morning when we're heading over. That's Shahat. He's the foreman of the dig site. Sweet man. That's our boat behind. That's the Dahabea, where we all stayed. This is Swedish photographer Anders Andersson, who was there. He had a big drone there, and he was shooting some pictures of the quarry site. There's Maria. Anders, John. Okay. And you can see, I just take a million pictures to try to get a good shot. Here's where our little ferry boat landed here. We were on the other side in the big boat moored up, and so the ferry would bring us over, and we would crawl up. There's John contemplating something. These are in the quarries at Gebel El Silsila. There you can see the quarry in the background. Well, the whole area was a quarry. It was all quarried out. This is the ramp that was built 3,000 years ago to get up to the quarry. And there's inscriptions all over everything. That's what they first did there before they could dig. They were there to do an epigraphic survey. And, of course, Anders and his drone. I took way too many pictures of this, but it was because I was going to use it for brochures and things. There's his drone right in the center of the picture. There it is. And he was taking pictures of stuff that was high up on the walls. So he's like 50 feet in the air there with that drone. Well, no, not there. No, he's only about 20 feet off the ground there. There, when he's going way up high. So, tons of pictures of that. It was for all their work there. You see there's a whole bunch of pictures of doing the drone stuff. And here we are up high now on the River Nile at Gebel El Silsila. That's Carter. That's John's dog. Dr. Carter, for Howard Carter, who discovered King Tut's tomb. And he's up there overlooking the river. We're on the east bank here. Carter recently died, so that was kind of a sad time a few months ago. There's looking down the Nile. The river's kind of low, so the sandbar's out, and it's turned green. That's looking south on the Nile. So, civilization, signs of civilization, the radio towers, the electrical towers. Sounds like my family is just coming home. You can see the quarries here, up on the top of them all. It's the Ramesseed quarry again.
Fireworks.
Okay. I'm just finishing up my radio show. All right. So, yeah, there's a shot of Anders that I took. He's up there where we were taking pictures of the shrines across the Nile there. This is, we're digging here and sifting, going through the stables of Tiberius. This right here, I got to show you this. This is the, hey, son. Oh, hey, Ro. I wasn't looking at you. This is Ramesses II, a big shrine, and it's on this big boulder that it was carved out of that tipped over because bunch of looters were told there was gold down here, and so they started digging this all out, and the thing just kind of tipped over. Down up on the spoil heaps. All spoil from quarrying all those hills. There's the big stone that tipped. These are some of the archaeologists with us. That's Ollie Hernsden or Hernsdel. He's Netherlands. Came to work that season. And there's Anders again. There you can see the shrine. And it's all carved out. Now all these stones here had pictographs of all the how they quarried the stone, dragged it down to the river, loaded it onto boats, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you have a lighter for the fireworks?
I do.
Can we have it?
Sure.
We spent all our rent money on fireworks. I hope that's okay.
Oh, sure.
Cool.
Yeah. And just call her up and let her know.
I will. She'll be fine.
So, yeah, these are, again, you see the spoil heaps here. And this is all the quarrying that was going on. Can you turn on that light again, please? Yep, thank you. There's Oli. So we're sifting and carrying dirt away down in what would be the stables of Tiberius. Okay. Get out of that because it's just more drone stuff. Anybody bored yet?
I have an interesting.
Oh, we've only got one viewer left. No, we've got 7. Never mind. Sorry, we've gained a couple of viewers. Oh, Dave Potter's here. Let's bring him in. How you doing, Dave?
Oy vey, I've been waiting here since like 10 o'clock.
I haven't been watching.
I know, I can tell.
So, let's see. Going back over here. Now, this is interesting. I took a ton of shots of this, as you can see. But I want you to watch this because it's very interesting. Well, first, we're in the
I've been
stables.
watching. I'm driving, but I'm watching.
Good. I'm talking to everybody else, too. So,
All right. Pictures are really tiny.
Now,
there we go.
This picture right here, that's John's hand. And you see a little bead on the tip of his finger. You can see how small that is.
Is that the bead he found on the ground?
Yep, that is a bead of turquoise found in all this rubble back here that we were all sifting through. And these were the stables of Tiberius Caesar. Here, when they had a settlement, they had offices up on the slope up on top. And so John found that little turquoise bead in the middle of all of that. And here's some more of the sifting. Looking for stuff. Smoking. There's some shards of pottery, just piles of it as we were sifting through everything. There's the mukta, that big black rubber bucket. That's what we would use to haul our own diggings away and dump them over on the slope. Now, this is what I want you guys to see. I was over on the west bank walking through all the shrines, taking pictures of the shrines, and they were overworking. The whole archaeological team was overworking on this mound. This mound has rooms up on the top, ancient rooms from 2,000 years ago. This is the offices of the stables of Tiberius. And if you go down over this side, was down where we were digging and sifting, and this was a little quarry back in there. They were quarrying their own stone there, and there were stables that were kept here. And I'm going to show you this up close a little bit. There is, that was our inspector from Komombo, and some of our workers, and the muktas you see, and they would carry them all the way to the far end and dump them off down here, just like all the spoil you see here. There's Oli. Now, I want to show you a series of these pictures just because I think it's kind of fun. Now, watch these. Dave, are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Now watch this because you'll see movement over here. Just watch the top of that hill. You see all the dust being raised right over in here. That's from dumping the muktaz full of debris and dirt. And I've got this neat little series in here where John found something and he goes running across the top of this, and I've got the whole sequence of him running. Let's see. I'm going from picture to picture here. It's almost like moving pictures.
It's almost exactly like moving pictures.
Almost exactly like. I got a ton of these in here. Let me see if I can find out where he's doing this, because I thought it was just a fun thing to look at.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question while you're looking at that. So, do we know exactly when
There
the
you go.
jumpsuit was erased?
Yes, it was started during the reign, not long after her death. It started during the reign of Thutmose III, who was her husband brother's son from a lesser wife, a harem wife.
Which is how many thousands of years ago?
This would have been right around 14. What year would this erasure have taken place? Right around 1425, something like that, BCE. No, further back, 1460s. And so he did the erasure, and then he left off. He didn't have any problems with Hatshepsut in life. He was the general of her armies. He was the rightful pharaoh, but she came to the throne when her husband died, and he was only 3 years old, so he couldn't take the throne. So she became a co-regent with him, and about 6 years later said, screw that, I'm just going to be pharaoh. And she became pharaoh. She sent him up to Memphis, where I think she was a lot of the time as well. And he grew up and he became the general of all her armies. She appoints him as general of all her armies. There was never a coup attempt, nothing. There was a very peaceful reign there. And then when she died, he took over. And when he started erasure, he was told he needed to do that to show that he was now the pharaoh and he was in power. He's in control. But he left off. He didn't do a lot of it. Now, he was pharaoh for 40 more years. At this time, when Hatshepsut died, was about the time, I believe, that Moses, Senenmut, would have fled Egypt because the new regime was in place. He had murdered the one Egyptian. There's a whole lot I write all about this. I don't need to go into that now. But he fled Egypt, Senenmut. And it's very interesting that 40 years pass now, and who should be on the throne in 40 years is Amenhotep II, the 18-year-old son of Thutmose III, who is now 80, and he comes to the throne, and for the first 5 years leads 5 successful military campaigns. And in this time, he said, Dad, you left off with that bitch of a aunt of mine, your stepmother, Hatshepsut, and he eradicated all the rest of her images throughout Egypt. And this would have been right between, say, 1450 and 1445 BCE. And he eradicates all the rest of her images. And not only does he do that, a little bit later, he eradicates all the images of Senenmut. And they find 9 statues of Senenmut buried in a pit in Luxor. And my speculation, historical speculation, is that Senenmut returned to Egypt 40 years after he left as Moses, his birth name.
Yeah.
He returns back, leads a slave revolt, takes the slaves out of Egypt. What happens with Thutmose or Amenhotep II? He eradicates every image of Senenmut, every statue of Senenmut. The only one that is left on the site in Luxor is inside the Holy of Holies of Hatshepsut's temple. There were 2 big stone doors that were set in stone hinges that are now gone. But those doors would open, And the only way you could see the remaining inscription of Senenmut was to be inside and close the doors. Way down on the floor, right by the hinge, low down on the floor, 6 inches off the floor, is a little cartouche of Senenmut on each side behind the doors. And it said, Senenmut, the only friend of the queen and true advisor, and so on and so on and so on. He had inscribed his image there, and it was missed because anytime you closed those doors, nobody was inside. And so those were there. And so I believe, my speculation, I write about it in the book, is that Moses returned to Senenmut. He encounters an old rival of his. There's nothing written about this. I've speculated about this. But when Moses was growing up, that first 40 years, he attended the school of the nobles. And because he was a nobleman, he was the adopted son of the queen of Egypt. So he was a prince of Egypt. That's not just fancy. And Senenmut went to the school of the nobles, along with a contemporary of his, a man by the name of Rechmir. Rechmir was overlooked by Hatshepsut as the Grand Vizier, and Hatshepsut appointed Senenmut as Grand Vizier. Well, then when he flees, and Tutmosis II, when he's about 40, Senenmut disappears off the face of Egyptian history. There's no reason given for why. He left 2 unfinished tombs, glorious tombs, and yet he disappears at the death of Hatshepsut. There's nothing about him. Then Tutmosis III comes to the throne. He appoints Rechmir as his Grand Vizier, who's roughly about the same age, roughly about 40 to 42 years old. 40 years pass. Tutmosis III is in his old age. His son Amenhotep II comes to the throne, who I believe is the pharaoh of the Exodus. And he becomes the Grand Vizier at like age 80 to Amenhotep II. For not very long, for just a few years. And then he is gone. He's entombed, he dies. But here's the interesting thing, and I've put forward, I know we're sitting on one slide here, but I put forward this theory. My theory is this. If you notice in the biblical text, it talks about how Pharaoh came back after the slaves left Egypt, and what does he ask? What's the first thing he asks all his council? Where's my slaves? Like he didn't know where they'd gone. Now, remember, he had been on 5 successful military campaigns that first 5 years of his reign, before 1445-46, when I believe the Exodus took place. And so he comes back home, and there's no slaves. And what does he say? He says, mount up, we're chasing them down. He's already got his army all ready to go. So what my belief is this, is that the Grand Vizier was known as Pharaoh in the place of Pharaoh. And I believe, since you don't have his name there in the book of Exodus, I believe the man whom Moses encountered was the man he grew up with, Rechmir, who became a rival. And I'm speculating this part, but I believe he became a rival he and Senenmut were rivals. And Senenmut got the Grand Viziership and ruled for 20 years with Hatshepsut as Grand Vizier. And then he disappears. Rechmir becomes, then Rechmir is there. I believe it's Rechmir you see in the biblical account. And Rechmir is the guy that's saying, no, I shall not let the Hebrew slaves go. And it says he kept hardening his heart. I believe some of this is due to my speculative rivalry between the two that empowered the hardening of his heart. Then Pharaoh comes back and go, dude, where's my slaves? And then tries to chase them down. And very soon after that, Rechmir is gone. He's dead. I think Rechmir may have met an ignoble end. So that's speculative, and I got a lot more to back that up, but there's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, guys. I don't know how I got off on that rabbit trail. Let me get back to the
Because I
photos.
asked you a question.
Oh, that's
That's
it.
how you got off on that.
Now, everybody, watch up here, right here on the top of this little hill. John finds out some news here, and he goes running off to the left. Watch this. I thought this was kind of fun to watch. Now, watch here. He ran over to his boards. It's not many pictures, but it's moving pictures. There he is right there. And boom.
All to be a
boom,
Bigfoot.
boom, 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 boom. Oops, I'm going backwards. Boom, 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 running across the top. And of course, I was over here on the other side of the river. So, yeah, it sure does, Sarah Yusuf. It shows how foreign interests penetrated in. And so we're not going to go much longer with this. I was going to see if I had anything else that was really stunning to show you guys. A couple of great photos. This is the last time I was out there. Believe it or not, it was 2016 was my last trip there. 2015. It's been almost 7 years.
Doesn't seem like it's been that long.
I know. That's the day I arrived. We're out on the ferry boat. And these are just other scenes of Silsila. I've got a lot more pictures over here.
Did I tell you about John and Maria asking me to come over and be part of the team and cook for them and stuff?
No.
So
that this year?
No, it was shortly after the wedding.
Okay.
And John said, you should come with and you
Yeah.
could cook for us and you could do all. And I said, oh, John, there would be screaming and shouting and then bloodshed and bodies everywhere. And he goes, oh, no, you don't have to worry about terrorists and stuff. And I go, no, that would be me shooing people out of the kitchen.
There you go. Here, this is on my Facebook page, but here are pictures of the Sinai, the year we went in 2014. And we're in the little Nissan pickup truck of Sheikh Salim Barakat of a little village out here in the middle of the Sinai. This is the Sinai Wilderness,
otherwise known as an Egyptian military vehicle.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he was a pretty tough old bastard. He's still alive, but the last that John had heard of him a few years ago was that they had rifled up all the men in his village and went after ISIS. So, tough old bastard. Anyway, this is the site that I believe the Israelites would have seen when they crossed over the Red Sea, which I don't think was the big expanse. I believe it was the Reed Sea to the north of the Red Sea. And they crossed through that very shallow lake. And there's that geologic event that can take place there, and it's happened, where the strong winds blow and it dries out the lake because it's narrow, and you can walk over the lake on dry ground, but you better go fast because when the wind dies out, it's the wind that comes down off the Negev up toward Israel and blows there. When that wind stops, the waves come back almost like a tsunami, even for the shallow lake. And you get caught in that, you're dead. So, yes.
Don't forget I leave that shelf open.
Very interesting.
That what?
The shelf open.
I said very interesting.
Open
The shoe rack opened.
so it covers the door window.
Oh,
So
okay.
close
Got it. That's a closet door, sweetheart. Okay. So here we are in the Sinai. This is where I believe they came down the Sinai and crossed over to Sarabat el Khadim. Now, I'm just going to go through some of these. There's John and I and Sheikh Salim's truck. There's Sheikh Salim right there. There's Shahat. And this is a little Mo who has fallen out of favor over the last few years. He, about the time we were going to take our last trip, he'd stole a lot of money. He was very corrupt. Hate to say. We thought he was one of John's best friends over there. And he knew his shit out there. So here we are. There's Chris Conway. Yeah, I think so. There's Abby and Bryn.
Your twin daughters, Abby and Bryn?
Yeah, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn.
Shout out for you, Brianna.
So this is the whole group we had out there. And there we are out in the Sinai. And Sheikh Salim unfurled or rolled back up our big sign where we took a big picture. There's John's daughter in the middle. That's Bryony. And so it's Abby is on the left, Bryn on the right, and Bryony, John's daughter, in the middle. And this is our drive out to Sheikh Salim's, and here's his compound. And up over this mountain, over the top of this, is Sarabat El Khadim. And we'll get there. There's some of the people that came along on our trip. Chris Conway again. You can see we're out in the middle of godforsaken nowhere in the Sinai here. Now, this is opposite the Sheikh's compound, and Sarabat is way back to the left and over the mountain there. We're going up the other side. We did a little spelunking here. And so we're walking up through all the rubble. And there's John. So much rubble. And there's the three girls. It's Bryony. There's Sarabat El Khadim. And it's right over that pointiest peak in the middle. Just beyond that it's a plateau of Sarabat El Khadim. And it's my belief that these deserts down here and all the way around this mountain range where Sarabat is where the Israelites camped. And you remember in the story in the Bible, it talks about how Moses is up in the mountain for 40 days and the people are like, where is this guy? They say in the vernacular. It was not very pleasant. And they made Aaron make an idol for them. Make us a god that we can worship. Who do they make? He throws the gold in the fire. He crafts a golden calf, which is none other than Hathor, the calf goddess of Egypt. Well, the
Maybe they were just hungry.
Yeah, it could have been. The mountain of Sarabat El Khadim is Hathor's mountain. And so this is where Moses would have gone if this is truly the holy mountain of God, the Mount Sinai of the Bible. And so they're dedicating this new idol to the god of that mountain. John playing golf again. There's the girls over on an opposite cliff. Chris Conway. Boom, boom. Little bird. There's Sarabat behind us. There's Sheikh Salim. He had us in his 120-year-old Bedouin tent, the whole party, and he cooked dinner for us with his own hand. So he's there making dinner. And his sons were stoking up the fire. This is a picture just taken. I set the camera on the wall. This is midnight, looking towards Sarabat El Khadim. That's the bunch of us sitting there by the fire, trying to stay warm. The girls again. Don't want to advance for some reason. Okay, oh, that was the end of that album. That's why. So there's Sarabat El Khadim, folks, and there's so much more, so many other things I could show you here. This is the climb up Sarabat El Khadim, by the way. I'll show you these, and then we'll probably try to wrap it for tonight. Here, I got to close this down. So
oh my God, I should show you the slideshow from my trip to the Ozarks. Oh my God, that was a fun trip.
Yeah, fuck off. It's my slideshow. So there's Sarabat. Some of these are the same. This is our book, The Exodus Reality, and we've got a picture of Sheikh Salim with us in that book. And we were presenting him that book and also Intrepid magazine, which I had here under my arm. We've got pictures of him there as well. And he was just delighted. So we gave him that book. And this is in his compound. Sorry, sideways pictures. That's all of us in the Bedouin tent awaiting dinner. That's our group. John wearing his parka.
How cold does it get?
It was down in the upper 30s, low 40s at night.
Oh, okay.
So it was only about
chili.
it was only about 7.
Chili.
Actually, and it was only about 70 degrees during the day. That's why we're wearing coats the whole time. There we are. That's Brenda. She was on the trip with us. And that's when we're just getting served dinner. It's somebody's shadow. It's not a shadow man. And this is the encampment. Morning coffee. Our Egyptian buddies. There's some of the Sheikh's sons. Now, this is the path. They had built a stairway in the 20th century. They'd built a stairway going up Sarabat el Khadim. And it's on the old processional pathway that didn't have stairs. And they built these walls. And a year before this, believe it or not, in the middle of the Sinai Desert, a flood came down in the rainy season and took out all the stairs. So this is us going up. All this stuff that looks built up was built up maybe 20 years ago at most, going up the side of this mountain. And believe you me, even with the stairs and the pathways, it was a tiring trek. So I'm just showing you these. This is going up what I believe to be, and John and I believe to be, Mount Sinai. The Mount Sinai of the Bible. There's the Sheikh's, one of his encampments down there at the base. You can see how rough the path gets. And it picks up again up there. Is everybody proceeding up?
What always amazes me is how stuff could just lay there for 1,000 years.
I know.
To pick it
you
up
just bend over and pick up a piece of pottery that's 3,000 years old. Oh, this was right here. We found turquoise up on the top of Sarabat el Khadim. Little more turquoise beads up on top. But it happened to be seen by the Muslim Brotherhood inspectorate guy. And he goes, I will take that, please. Who knows where that ended up. Now, this whole region all around this mountain is all mines, copper mines and turquoise mines. And so Hathor also became the patron goddess not only of this mountain, but the patron goddess of miners. Oh, by the way, if you look in the middle here, there is Little Mo carrying the coffee, the all-important coffee carafe. And in his backpack are the bone china teacups. Because
John always cracks
people
me
asked
up with
about pictures for Egypt, and so we showed pictures tonight. So there's just inscriptions all on the walls, all the way up. This was chiseled out. Look at that. Don't know why, but that's a boat, an Egyptian bark. There's El Tayeb in John's Indiana Jones hat. He's a guide out there. So this is as we're nearing the top of the mountain up in the Sinai. And there's mines all around us here as well. Ancient mines from 3,000 and 4,000 years ago. There's a group as we almost made it to the top. Looking back. There's the top. And so we're walking along the plateau up here. This is that plant I told you all about, that the Bedouins say they take the dry plant and do it up in bundles and it'll burn and never go out. It's the burning bush. There it is. And there's mines riddled all through those different terraces there. There's one mine right there.
I have a question. Do you really need this many photos?
Yes, I do.
Can you ever delete?
There's only a few that are that I use for anything. A lot of these are offshoots, and you just take as many pictures as you can to get the best shots. Now, here's the temples and the shrines up there. Way in the background, there's a cave in here that has the two temples of Ptah and Hathor, and then there was an old compound built there. We don't know what it was for. They think maybe keeping animals, and all the shrines that extend out. There were 1,600 years worth of shrines that were built there by successive pharaohs. You can see how cool it is up top there. Some of the stelae that are toppled over up on top. There is the cave of Ptah and Hathor in the background. You start to see the shrines, and the place is littered with stelae. And what do they say the Ten Commandments were written on? 2 tablets of stone, stelae. And the whole place, there's whole piles of them. There was I believe, what Moses was doing up here for 40 days, visiting the priests of Ptah and Hathor.
I can see it now. Some stones, you'd better not. No, strike that. Thou shalt not. That's better. Let's do
Thou
it that
shalt not. Let's use Old English. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was the climb up Serabet El Khadim.
I'd have been down earlier, but I misspelled something. I had to go back and redo the whole tablet.
Well, I'm trying to get out of this. There we go. Why is it doing that to me? Why are you ha-haing?
Because you have too many photos.
That doesn't matter.
They can't get out of anything.
I'm not quite sure why you think that's a problem. I'm supposed to be able to hit that, and it takes us out of here.
I can't see who that is in the little tiny picture. Is that Rowan?
What?
Hello, Rowan.
Hi.
Okay, I'm going to get out of this anyway.
Oh, there we go.
We'll just get out of here. And let's go back over here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Boom, there we are.
Boom.
So there you go, folks. There's a whole hell of a lot more to look at and a whole lot more to see. What you've just seen are tiny snippets of just 2 of the trips I took there. So there's a lot of stuff to look at.
What kind of trouble are you asking to get into tonight, Rowan?
I got into trouble, but not like me getting into trouble. Like,
why? What'd you get into trouble
can I
for?
tell him the Walmart story?
Well, she's always trying to get into some kind of trouble.
You can.
She's Rowan.
No, not like in trouble. Like kidnapping.
Thank you, Sean Stroik.
Thou shalt not kidnap. You don't want to be kidnapping people.
No,
it's expensive. Okay. You have to pay for all their meals and everything.
Quick and tell your story now.
Yeah, I might.
Because we're gonna sign off pretty quick.
I was at Walmart today with Mom, and then Mom told me to stay by the cart and stay next to her. And I asked her why, and she said there was this guy who kept walking by us, and every aisle we were down, he was down there.
That for me?
And so Mom started looking at him.
No,
and
thanks, baby.
Then he went away. So we went to clothes where I got this shirt. And there was another, they were all Hispanic, and there was another one that was following us by the clothes, just kept looking at me.
Yeah, so that's kind of creepy.
Then we got
and they were all on their phones.
Yeah, they were all talking to somebody. And
then, each other.
Yeah, probably. And then after that, we
left. That's what I said, each other.
And we went to shoes, but Mom saw this clearance stuff, so she went over there and looked at it. And there was another Hispanic guy standing there looking at me, weird, talking to somebody on his phone. So then we went to shoes, and there was nobody down there except the guy who was close to the clearance, because the clearance was close to the shoes. And when we went down the clearance aisle for shoes, there were the 2 Hispanic guys who walked by me and looked at me. And then me and Mom left.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little creepy, I think.
Very creepy.
So glad nothing came of that and that Rainey is sharp about that stuff. So, all right, everybody. That's pretty much it. That's what we're going to do tonight. I hope that you enjoyed watching some pictures. It'd be easier if it was a movie or something, but it wasn't. So thanks for asking. And
ask me what I did today.
There's at least 15,000 more pictures.
What did you do, Uncle Dave?
What'd you do, Uncle Dave?
Choreographed a sword fight for a wedding. Like you
very
do.
Cool. Yeah, like you do. So cool. Anybody get killed?
Nope.
That's good.
Nope. And I didn't look foolish because my skills are still tight. So So there
Yes. Fantastic. All right. That's pretty cool. I'd like to be doing some of that. All right, guys. Here we go. Dave, I'm going to let you go because I'm going to
All
say
right.
goodnight.
you go. Love you, Rowan. Good night.
Good night.
Say good
Love you
night to your
too,
brother
brother
and
Dave.
sister for me.
All right. See
All
you
right.
later. Bye, Uncle Dave. Ellery's yelling from the other room.
Bye, Allie Belly.
There you go. She just went to bed and she doesn't have any clothes on. That's my little 7-year-old, the nudist.
Yeah.
So,
She's our little
all right.
nymphet, the little elf.
Yeah,
Water.
pretty much. All right, Dave, see you later. All right, guys. So, a little different kind of show. It's fun to go through some of the pictures. Some other time, show you more. Maybe a year from now, we'll do that again. Only different pictures next time. Thank you, Barbie D. I appreciate that. Everybody's talking about wine over there. Ro?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Okay. I love you, but you don't have to do that.
If you love
All
me,
right.
you would buy me Starbucks.
Yeah, I did this week. So anyway, there we go, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We'll be back on Sunday morning with It's Sunday. And we'll see what's going on by Sunday morning. And so you all have a good holiday weekend. And we'll see you again next time. Thanks for being here. Live long and prosper.